David Stewart with MidAmerica Industrial Park is here. We're going to talk about the park, and we're going to talk about how they're investing in the future. David, it's good to have you.
Well, thank you for having me.
First of all, for the folks that might not know it, this is Oklahoma's largest industrial park.
Yes, actually, it's one of the largest in the United States.
No kidding.
That's correct.
When did it all get underway? When was the first shovelful of dirt turned?
Well, the first shovel was turned actually at World War II. It was a black powder munitions plant. And then, of course, it was decommissioned. And then in 1960, those assets were transferred to the authority, it's the Oklahoma Ordnance Works Authority. And that's when it officially started business. And then since that time, property was sold and proceeds from the sale of water at the water plant and so on. You know, it's just grown to that extent. And now we have 80 companies and 4,000 people go to work there every day.
It's amazing. And you know, I have to be honest with you. I had not paid much attention until all of a sudden Google made a major announcement about the money they're fixing to spend, or they're in the process of spending there.
Yeah, it's amazing. They started out with about a $700 million investment several years ago. And then they just announced that they're going to extend that to a total of $2 billion, which will be the largest investment in Oklahoma in its history.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. Well, they recognize what you folks are doing there. I have to tell you, I want to get this in while I'm thinking about it. This sort of enterprise does not just happen. It takes a lot of thought, a lot of planning, and a lot of stewardship, as well as proper guidance, which I have to credit folks such as yourself with. You also have a board that works with you, do you not?
Yes, we have a board of trustees, and 5 trustees, of which I am one. And one is designated by the leader of the Senate, one by the leader of the House. We have a representative from GRDA that's appointed by the governor, and then we have the head of the Department of Commerce. And of course, those positions rotate.
One of the reasons we wanted to have you in today was to talk about this new infusion, if you will, that you all are making into 5 different school districts. Explain that for us.
Well, when we look at why businesses move or expand, the more I got into that research and talking to companies, we discovered that the reason they will move, or they won't move unless they can find a good workforce. So in other words, they're looking for reasons not to go, because everybody obviously wants them to come to their region. So what they do is they look at the area. They say, can I find workers? And so I go back to my first presentation to a company, and I said, I have the water, I have the electricity, and then it came to, well, where's the workforce? And honestly, I really couldn't answer that question. And that was early on in my tenure as a trustee. And so then I proceeded to help answer that question. And the more I discovered, the more I got into the issue. And it became apparent that if I couldn't explain that to a company where our workforce was going to come from, they weren't going to move there. So that was the origin of the concept of developing MidAmerica Delivers. And it's a branded program that is designed to make all the way from students to the general population aware of the jobs that are available and give them the skill sets they need to get a job and stay right there in the prior area. They can go to work at the park.
And what's really important is for these young students to understand, as you are helping them to do, why they need to go through certain training facilities and certain course objectives to get good employment with these firms down the road.
Right, and when you look at, manufacturing has changed over the years.
Sure.
So generally, our students and kids really don't understand what manufacturing is now that it's high tech and it's much different than.
What are we seeing here?
Oh, well, that's one of our STEM labs, actually. Part of the funds that we granted to the school actually redesigned the room. It provided all of the infrastructure, the fiber optics, the electricity, whatever was needed to run these computers, and buy these kits. What you're seeing now is a kit that we furnish to the schools that allows them to learn different aspects of hydraulics, electricity, all the different things related to science and math and engineering.
My goodness.
Very interesting. So this is an example of what the kids are seeing on their computers.
And these young people can get their feet wet with this and follow a course that takes them right through a bachelor's degree or a master's
That's
degree in
correct.
engineering or science or whatever.
That's correct. And as you know, that when students actually touch and feel a science issue, they may like it or they may not, or they may go to hydraulics, whatever they're interested in. But once they find something they're interested in, what do? They pursue it and they succeed at it. If they're doing something they enjoy, then they will absolutely excel and they'll be interested. And then that is really the course of action that we want to generate for these students.
See, that sort of thing makes me want to go back to school.
Yeah, it's fun. These robotics programs that what these kids are developing is just fantastic. And Google actually has contributed funds towards our program to help us put these types of things in place at the schools.
So we're talking 5 districts
5 districts.
that will benefit from this.
That's correct.
But that's a long-term investment.
Yes, I mean, these kids are not, I mean, this might be, some of the systems have them in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade. Some are in high school. So we believe this is a, 3, 5 to 7 year program before we will really see some of these kids come out with skill sets that are just going to be top notch and best in class.
It's amazing. Oklahoma has a reputation right now, not a good one in terms of funding education. How does Joy Hoffmeister stand on this?
Well, I'll tell you, Superintendent Hoffmeister is a blessing to the state of Oklahoma. I have the privilege of working with her. I'm on the board of the Career Tech system. And she has a vision of integrating business with these curriculums that are set to design career pathways for the industries that are established in Oklahoma. So for example, aerospace. Well, aerospace needs to be a curriculum that starts in the school system to educate kids about the skill sets that they need to get a job in aerospace. And then what's kind of strange, there's aerospace companies in Oklahoma that will employ them. So the alignment of that curriculum with the business need is what is critical, and I think that's the vision that she has.
And ultimately, that could create or trigger major industrial diversification throughout Oklahoma.
That's correct. That's correct, because as you know, what I talked about earlier, when we have the employees, companies will come. And that's a proven model around the world, in fact. So these are the kinds of concepts that I think the state is now addressing with the change in the senior year, where students can get accredited courses during their senior year, and then those would carry on to go to college. I mean, these are the kind of innovations that we need to be putting into the system.
Well, you just said something that kind of caught my ear. These are accredited courses.
Yes, well, yes, they're integrated into the high school system, and then the accreditation can come from, say, Rogers State. They might have a concurrent course that ties into some of these related programs.
Sure.
And that's how it all happens. Then they get a start in education at the college level or at OSU IT or any of the higher education institutions that might carry their career to the next level.
I was having a problem with my cell phone. And my 13-year-old granddaughter said, "Oh, let me see it." Boop, 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 boop. There you go.
Yeah.
Their minds, of course, they came in